Hello and welcome back to my channel. I know it has been quite a while, and again I feel weird sat in front of a camera because I haven't done it in so long. But today I wanted to do a little Q&A, a little catch up, talk about where I've been, talk about how my life's going, talk about how therapy's going, exposure therapy. So I asked on Instagram and I got a lot of questions from you guys, so I've picked out some of them to answer. I know I have been quite inconsistent with YouTube. It hasn't really been top of my priority because I've been loving Instagram for one. I feel more like I can engage with you guys better. But the main thing is that YouTube takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of watching yourself back, and obviously I'm in active therapy right now and I don't necessarily have the energy to be doing YouTube, so I've been just enjoying Instagram more. But with that being said, I want to get into the actual Q&A because I have a lot of questions to answer. So I got a lot of questions about EMDR. I think I've kind of posted about it a couple times on my stories, so obviously that's how people know that I'm doing EMDR. So this person said, I'd love to hear about your experience with EMDR. I only did it one time because I felt out of it, too aware of its awkwardness. This was really interesting to me and it really made me reflect because I realised that, I mean, I've been doing EMDR for over a year now, just to preface. So I do feel like I have my experience with it. I have complex PTSD, so there are multiple events that I'm trying to process, and I have processed one whole one. That sounded weird. And the one that I have processed has actually stopped affecting me. I don't have nightmares about it, I don't get flashbacks about it, and I have basically come to terms with that thing, healed from that thing. Obviously I still have the memories because you can't erase memories, and they don't make me feel happy, we'll put it that way. But they don't feel as intrusive and uncontrollable as they used to. Surrounding that one memory, I do still have a way to go with the rest of EMDR, but generally my experience has been very positive with it. I thought I wanted CBT because mine's under the NHS. When I got allocated to EMDR, I was kind of like not the happiest. Like, I didn't want to do EMDR because I didn't know what it was, I hadn't heard of it, which is why I want to talk about it so badly, because I know that it's becoming a much bigger thing now and there are a lot more people who are being suggested to have EMDR. So I just wanted to kind of tell you a bit about it. This person mentioned obviously about the awkwardness, and I really felt that at the start because EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing. I believe I might have got that wrong. An airplane went over and it's just started raining really hard, so I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm quite liking the zenness that it's bringing. What was I talking about? The awkwardness. So as I said, it's like an eye movement therapy. I don't do the eye movement version, I never have. I've done the tapping one, which is where you basically tap like this, and in terms of awkwardness, like, I would be sat there with my eyes shut. Bear in mind I hate having my eyes shut. When I did a group like meditation breathing exercise at an event the other day, I didn't have my eyes shut because I was just like, I just feel so awkward, I feel vulnerable and strange, and it just feels awkward. So when I knew my therapist was watching me with my eyes shut, tapping and thinking about traumatic memories and processing them, I initially was like, oh, this is so embarrassing, but it's just not. Your therapist or whoever you do it with will have been doing this with so many patients so many times, and it's such a normal thing. You need to let go of that embarrassment to be able to do it properly, because if you're in your head thinking, oh my god, I look so weird right now, then you're not going to be in the memory processing it. So I think that awkwardness is definitely something that I had to get over, but once I did, it was absolutely fine, and I just kind of did have to realise that she's a therapist and she's seen this 100 times before. The next question is, what has been the most rewarding part of exposure therapy? I've been doing exposure therapy for honestly like over a year now. I started it with like getting the bus and getting the train with my boyfriend, and more recently I've been walking around the block where I live or to the end of the road and to the post office and stuff like that by myself, because a lot of my triggers involve being alone. I feel like unprotected and I feel vulnerable. So I've been doing exposure therapy, and honestly, I will get onto this, but that rain is crazy. Can you hear that? Anyway, there have been some really rewarding moments that have just made me think, oh my god, I'm so glad I've started this journey, and I'm so glad I'm putting the work in, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't be here now. So even in the past couple of weeks, I went to the Barbie premiere in London. The UK Barbie premiere. It might have even been the European one. It was insane. But it was one of those moments as well where I was just like, if I hadn't been doing exposure therapy, I would not have coped. It was like, for an average person who doesn't have PTSD, I would say it was pretty intense. Obviously there was lots of celebrities there, and I will go on to talk about this because I had many a question about it. But that was just such a huge moment for me where I was like, this is what makes it all worth it. And also about 4 days before that, I think, me and my boyfriend went up to London to see the Lumineers, and I did some exposure work while I was there. Like, I walked to the toilet by myself, which was quite a way away from where we were sat. I let him leave me to go and get us dinner and stuff like that. So generally there are moments like that where I've noticed my anxiety levels being lower than they previously would have been, and that has felt really rewarding, just not having that fear as much, if you know what I mean. I hate the rain when I'm out in it, and I hate when it's grey skies, but that noise. Let's just take a minute and just breathe. So nice. The next question is, what are you most proud of yourself for right now? I think kind of following on from the last question is everything I've been doing recently, especially exposure therapy wise. Like being able to go to events, do exciting things, go to concerts and not feel as anxious. I'm really proud of myself for getting to that point. And obviously with eating disorder recovery, I'm very proud of that too. But yeah, I used to find it really hard to feel proud of myself or to say that I'm proud of myself, but now I really think it's so important to celebrate your achievements and recognise how far you've come. So I'm a big advocate for that. Next question is it possible for you to explain how EMDR works / what a typical session involves? So a typical session with EMDR, I'll kind of go in, digest the past week with my therapist. We'll talk about how my nightmares have been, flashbacks, what has kind of triggered me this week, or what are like good points of the week, just generally go over the last week. And then your therapist will probably make you make a hierarchy of events. My therapist, because the beautiful thing about EMDR is that you don't necessarily have to speak it, you don't have to say it out loud. Kind of worded that weirdly. I kind of love EMDR for that reason, because it is just all in my head and I'm processing it in my head, and I don't have to be telling her really difficult things that I feel I can't say out loud. She made me make a list of like headlines of different events, so all she gets is like the headline. So say, I don't know, you fell from a tree, it would be like the tree would be the headline, if you know what I mean, because you know what that means in your head. What I do is like sets of tapping, and then I'll have a little break and she'll ask me what was the last thing that came into your head, and I'll kind of say, oh, it was a physical feeling, it felt like this, and then she'll say keep that in mind and keep tapping, and then it kind of allows your brain to flow through that process and flow through the memories. And it is really difficult, it's exhausting, but it is really worth it. And actually I think it's just incredibly healing to be kind of having that time with yourself and doing the process yourself in a way. I don't know if that's just me, but that's how I feel. The next question is, do you have any plans on moving out with Brandon again? You are so cute. First of all, thank you. I posted a reel recently about me and Brandon's relationship and the comments were a bit intense. It was very TikTok vibes from Instagram, if I'm honest, because men got hold of my comment section and were like, you're toxic. And I was like, well, okay. Complete tangent. Yes, we have plans to move out. We are obviously going to move out sooner rather than later, just so that we both have our own space to kind of work, especially because I'm doing content creation like full time. I kind of need that space, and we currently have like a fold up desk. It's just not a very productive environment. I'm incredibly grateful to my parents for letting us move in with them, so I'm not complaining, but we do have plans to move out. And I don't know if this person realised that we actually do live together still. He just lives here with me as kind of the interim before we get our own place. But it all depends, because the cost of living and finance and being an adult is hard. The next question is, do you have experience with being tired because of mental health and can't get out of bed? I would definitely say yes. I actually have so many days where I just wake up absolutely exhausted, because I think with PTSD, or if you're a person that gets nightmares, even when you sleep you don't really feel very rested because your brain is so busy. And generally being hyper alert all the time is exhausting, or thinking all the time and feeling all the time is exhausting, especially when your thoughts are kind of racing and they're obsessive, or just having a busy brain. I think it's so normal to be tired, and I love the whole productivity vibe on Instagram. Like, I love seeing people being productive, but sometimes I just can't do that, and I think that's okay. Sometimes I just can't manage to have a crazy day and do loads of stuff, and I do think that's okay, because rest is so vital for your mental health. I think burnout is such a real thing, and you have to be so careful not to overwork yourself, and don't beat yourself up if there is a day where, you know, you just don't have the energy to socialise or be particularly productive, because, you know, your brain's got a lot going on, and that's alright. Next question, which I said I would obviously talk about, is would you make a vid or just talk a little bit about the Barbie premiere? And then I've got 2 more questions about the Barbie premiere. So If you don't follow me on Instagram, you won't have seen, but I went to the Barbie premiere, as I said. I was really kindly taken by Meta. There was about, I think, 15 of us that Instagram chose to take. And I have no idea how I ended up in that group, but I'm so grateful. Like, I wasn't really a Barbie girl when I was younger. And actually, if you watch the movie, which some of you will have been able to by the time this video goes up, if you watch the movie, you'll realise that it's really not about Barbie in the way I remember it as a child, which is that perfect and pink and there's no substance to anyone and it's just about how you look kind of thing. I don't know if I've worded that right, but I'm sure there will be people that relate to that. But I've been so excited about the Barbie movie because it has an incredible cast, obviously, and just generally the vibes looked great. And then I got invited to the premiere and I was screaming. I literally read the email and was like, oh my god, like my heart rate went through the roof. It was the most exciting thing. And then I obviously had the stress leading up to it because I was, you know, anxious about the fact that I was going to be in a space with a hell of a lot of people, probably in front of a crowd or a lot of cameras and a lot of just things happening generally. So I was very nervous about it. I wore a pink outfit and you guys have probably never seen me wear pink because this was the first pink thing I've bought in maybe 5 years. And I wore this pink dress and I honestly felt really pretty, and I never really get that feeling when I look at myself, but I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my god, I feel so pretty. And it was just, oh, it was the best night. And it was less than a week ago now, but it feels like it was yesterday and I haven't stopped living in that Barbie dream world. I have no words. I don't want to like go on and on about it because I have kind of not shut up about it. But next question is thoughts on the new Barbie movie. It's incredible. It's amazing. Like I've already booked to see it again with my mum because I was like, I need to have someone to talk to this film about. Like, it's incredible. I mean, I love Greta Gerwig. I loved Little Women. I loved Lady Bird. I don't think I expected what I got from the Barbie movie. Like, it was emotional. It was so not about women just being Barbies and only being valued for their looks. Like, it was the complete opposite, and I don't want to give it away, but please go see it. It was so good. Could you talk about your progression with exposure therapy? Could you talk about your progression with exposure therapy, because I hate it. I also hate it. I think that's the point. You're exposing yourself to that uncomfortableness, aren't you? Like, that's the difficult bit. I hate doing it. I have to really force myself to do it and get out of the house and be like, no, I'm going on this walk, because if I don't, I'm going to stay stuck forever. So my progression has been quite, I guess by some people's standards, it's been quite slow, but by others it's been quite fast. Like, my peer support worker wanted me to take it a little bit slower, but my actual EMDR therapist was like, no, we need to move faster because otherwise you're going to stay stuck. It's making those little jumps to the next point that will make you feel uncomfortable, but not so uncomfortable that you absolutely freak out and take a step back, if you know what I mean. The next question is how to stop worrying about what others think of you or comparing yourself to others. Oh my god, I have struggled with this so much, and I still do, to be honest. Especially doing content creation as a job, I think can be quite hard with comparing yourself. A lot of content creators kind of feel like their worth is measured in their likes or their amount of followers. So when Instagram has like a bot sweep out and suddenly you lose a bunch of followers, you'll be comparing yourself to others and you'll be like, oh my god, everyone hates me and I'm the worst and I'm ugly and everyone hates me. So this is something that I really have had to deal with recently. And also just, I think generally I've always cared so much about what others think of me, and I don't really know why that is. I think I've just always felt very judged by other people. The way I've stopped worrying about it is genuinely this, and I don't think this will work for everyone, but this has worked for me. If they are gonna think or say something horrible about me, then fuck them. I don't want them in my life. They're not a nice person and they don't deserve to be around me, and therefore I don't value their opinion. If someone, you know, is behind my back saying like, oh, she's annoying, that's their opinion. Not everyone is going to like me in life, and as a people pleaser I am very like, oh my god, no, they don't like me, oh my god, it's something wrong with me. But actually, you know, there are people in life that I don't like, and that's okay. As I said, if they are a person that's going to be horrible about me or going to judge me, I don't want their opinion. Like, I don't need their opinion. I don't value the opinions of people that are unkind. So I feel like that's quite a blunt or harsh way of going about it, but that's just how I have been dealing with it, because that was something I really did struggle with. And in terms of like comparing yourself maybe in a grade sense, I know a lot of people will be getting like A-level and GCSE results, or if you do social media or whatever, or even if you don't do it as a career, I know that people do just compare the amount of likes they get to other people. Life's not a competition. We are all on our own journey. We are all needing to take life at our own pace because we're all humans. Oh, this just got deep. Are you scared of falling back into your eating disorder? This is hard. So on the one hand, yes, it terrifies me. I know that although I believe in full recovery and I believe that you can get to a point where you don't have eating disorder thoughts anymore, I also know that you're always going to be prone to that as a coping mechanism, and that terrifies me. There's an airplane going over. And that, yeah, it just terrifies me. But it terrifies me because I don't want to go back. Anorexia is not a choice, is what I'm trying to say. Anorexia is never a choice. I don't think anyone in their right mind would wake up one day and decide to have an eating disorder. Like, it's not a choice. You don't decide whether you get ill or not. But I do think that once you're in recovery, you have a level of cognition that will allow you to pull yourself back from a relapse and recognize the signs. And I think I have had moments where I could have gone through with thoughts and urges and I haven't, and that is a conscious decision. So the idea of falling back into my eating disorder terrifies me, but on the other hand, I kind of don't believe I will. That's my 2 cents on that. The next question is, does it surprise/shock you how big your platform's gotten? Do you ever wish your journey wasn't so public? I am absolutely in shock, like every day that I go on Instagram and I see the comments, and you know, I go on YouTube and I see the amount of subscribers I have. It's not huge for a lot of people, but it's huge for me, and I never expected my platform and my recovery to go out and reach so many people. I think because I don't even think of myself as like an influencer. I'm just, it sounds cringy, but I am just me in my head, and I think everyone around me knows that I am very just me. The next part of the question is, do you ever wish your journey wasn't so public? Again, this is one that I'm torn on because I am so grateful for social media, for the opportunities it's given me, for the people it's allowed me to meet, for the things it's allowed me to do, and the amount of people that I've been able to reach and actually inspire, which is crazy, with my journey. I love that it's public for that reason, but there have been a few times where I've been like, I just wish that I could not be known by anyone, like not perceived, do you know what I mean? Or when I'm having bad body image days, I have in the past been like, oh my god, there's so many people that see me. And I do kind of have this thing where, like, when I leave the house and I'm in a busy space, if I'm not feeling myself 100%, I'm like, there are so many people right now, and what if one of them knows who I am and they see me and they realise I'm actually really ugly, which is just my brain being stupid. And also I think with PTSD for a while, I felt I really had to explain it because I was kind of absent from my social media for a little bit, and I think then I was kind of like, if people didn't follow my journey, I wouldn't have to explain that. But that's such a minor con, do you know what I mean? Like, it's really not that big of a deal, and I know I didn't have to explain it, but I also put pressure on myself. Oh my god, I ramble so much. How to decide whether to take time away from school/work to recover from an eating disorder? This question, I get asked this so much. Guys, education is really important. Work is really important, obviously, because you need money to live, but do you know what's also really important? Your health, and not dying. Do you know what eating disorders do? They kill. Do you know what eating disorders do? They ruin your health. So if you need to take a bit of time out of school to prioritize your healing, prioritize rest, and take the pressure off yourself, and just like be in an environment where you're not feeling anxious constantly, because school was something that made me really anxious, like, that's okay. If you need to take a bit of time off work and you financially can, I know it's not possible for everyone, but maybe you could get signed off sick. I don't really know. That's besides the point. Rest is okay. You can go back to education at any time. Like, I dropped out of college. I got half a BTEC. I don't have A-levels because I was not in the right mental frame to be able to cope with it. I couldn't do it. I was really struggling with PTSD. I was in the middle of anorexia recovery. It was just too much. And do you know what? Dropping out of college was the best decision I made. And I'm not telling you all to drop out of college, but it really helped me heal. And I think not having that added pressure of like, I've got to get good grades, as well as gaining weight, healing myself, working on my brain, doing self-care, like I just needed that pressure gone, and as soon as it was gone, I felt a lot better. So I think if you weigh it up and you realise that actually it's kind of causing you way more stress in the long run to be at school right now, then it's okay to take a break. 3 final questions. First one is little things that you do every day which help with your mental health. So I have actually been, as much as I can, sitting in the garden in the morning, first thing. I read somewhere that if you do it within the first 45 minutes of waking up, it's really good for your brain. And you know what? On the days that I sit and I get a bit of sunlight, I always feel so much better. The other thing that I do to try and help with my mental health is not scroll so much. Not just sit on social media and scroll and scroll and scroll, because my screen time as someone that does content creation is very high. And I like to tell myself that, you know, I'm not just scrolling. But actually it's very easy to just get distracted and just start scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and then at that point you're consuming so much of other people's lives that you start to compare yourself, and it's just so bad for your brain. So those are two things that I've been doing recently, and also getting enough sleep. Like, oh my god, since my sleep schedule got better, life has improved. Second to last question, podcast recommendations. I am not really a podcast girly. I don't listen to that many, but they do help me really focus. So I do put them on when I'm like tidying or ironing or washing the dishes. That's the only time I really listen to a podcast. The ones that I listen to that I love, Alex Light and Em Clarkson, they have one called Should I Delete That? I just love them as people. Like, I just find them really easy to listen to. I also love Off Menu by, I think it's James Acaster and Ed Gamble? Is that his name? I feel like I've got that wrong. And I don't listen to like mental health ones really. I don't know if that's what that person was kind of expecting from me. I've listened to a bit of The Psychology of Your 20s and I like that. I did fall asleep though, because she has a really soothing voice. Oh, and then I haven't actually listened to Anna's podcast, Anna Archer. I've been meaning to, but yeah, as I said, I don't listen to podcasts very often. I imagine that she probably has a really lovely podcast and it's probably very helpful, because I've met Anna a couple times now, and every time I've met her and we've had like a deep conversation, she's so wise. Like, she's such a lovely person, and she just like gets it. And the advice she gives is like impeccable. So I would recommend her podcast even though I haven't actually listened to it. I imagine it's very good. It's called Inside Anna's Mind. So yeah. And then the last question is, how do you deal with the idea of people's expectations of you, of your weight in recovery? Sorry. I think this is something that I really struggled with. I think especially when online you see other people recovering, and I'm not saying they're not recovering, but there are people that post about being in recovery and their weight doesn't change, and I think that can be really hard with comparison. Sorry, my camera ran out of storage, but I'm back. I think what I was saying was that I have met a lot of adults while being in anorexia recovery who, they have an understanding of anorexia to an extent, but they also have this kind of, I would say it's kind of old-fashioned image of anorexia, where it's like they don't think that people ever really get better. And so I've had quite a few people say to me like, wow, you look amazing considering it's recovery from anorexia, and I'm like, oh fuck, like you're expecting me to not look this big, which I think is something that I found really hard to deal with. But I kind of just told myself like, hey, the whole point of anorexia recovery is that you live in a healthy body and a healthy mind and have a healthy relationship with food. So maybe other people are expecting you to not be, you know, as well as you are, or not look as healthy as you do, but like that's on them. And actually you could waste so much of your life and so much of your potential only gaining weight to a certain point because you think that that's what other people are expecting of you. There is no right weight for recovery. There is no like, you should only get to this level and any more than that you're not valid anymore. Like, that's not a thing. You need to get to where your body is happy no matter what, and ignore other people who are doing recovery but still are underweight. Like, unfollow them, not helpful. Like, that's their journey, but it doesn't have to be yours. I think that's all I really have to say on that. So with that, the video is over. That was so dramatic. Thank you so much for watching. I have actually really enjoyed sitting here and just chatting with you. So I'm hoping, I actually say this every time, I'm hoping I'll be back with another video soon. I'll do my best. I always do my best. I've been really enjoying regularly creating content, so I will see you soon. For now, follow me on Instagram because you'll definitely get regular updates from me there. But yeah, remember to look after yourselves and go and get something to drink or eat or both. I love you lots. I'll see you soon.